Ain't it good to know you got a friend? Yeah. And that's the main reason that I'm doing this series on Unity's 5 basic principles. I did them some time ago, and it's nice to do them again because as we practice these principles, we create a stronger and stronger relationship with that friend that's always there. So today's talk is on our third unity principle, and the name of today's talk is Who's to Blame? We're going to just run through the first two principles so you see them. Dan, do you have the first one up there, please? So our first principle that we talked about a few weeks ago, there is one presence and one power in the universe and in my life, God the good, omnipotent. One presence and one power lives in and around us, the Spirit of God. So when I forget where my friends are, when I think I don't have one, I remember that that one power, that one presence is always there. And the second one, Dan. Our essence is of God. Therefore, we are inherently good. Wholeness is not outside us. My wholeness is within me. Your wholeness is within me. We are the essence of Spirit. It's our divine nature. And so when I'm not agreeing with someone, and I'm in my ego self, if I can remember to stop and remember to connect to my wholeness, and that they have that same wholeness in them, it diffuses the argument. And our third principle, what I'm talking on today, Dan, we are co-creators with God, created in reality through thoughts held in mind. Called the law of mind action. And those of you that have been here, we have a way we say it. Thoughts held in mind create after their kind. My thoughts make my life what it means. If you get this, your life changes. So the song said, when I'm down and troubled, when the skies are dark, do I remember that one power and one presence is always there? Do I remember that divine essence in others? Or do I look around for who's to blame? Who's to blame for my suffering? The scripture today is in Romans 12:2. Do not be conformed to this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your minds, so that you may discern what is the will of God, what is good and acceptable and perfect. Now, when I write my talk, I did a lot of research, and I looked in, a dozen different Bibles. And each Bible says this a little differently. So do not be conformed to this world. Another Bible said, do not be conformed to the patterns of this world. Another one said, do not be conformed to the behavior of this world. You see how it shifts, how each one you kind of get it in a different way? And then in another Bible, in this one it said, be transformed by the renewing of your minds. Another one said, be transformed into a new person by changing the way you think. And then, so that you may discern what is the will of God. One Bible said, so that you are able to test the will of God. Another one said, so that you were able to prove the will of God. So it's fun, and I really like looking in different Bibles because it helps me sometimes grasp it in a different way. But what it's saying is that our thoughts, not this person, not this situation, but my thoughts are creating my feelings and my emotions. And how I choose to think about an experience is what it becomes. So someone cuts me off in traffic, and I get annoyed, and I assume that he or she is an inconsiderate jerk. Been there? And what do? We fill in the missing pieces with our own negative assumptions. And as we do that, what are we doing? We're getting ourselves all worked up, aren't we? The other driver's off on their way. Now what? What if you knew that that person was rushing to the hospital with an injured child? You would have let them in, right? You would have blessed them on their way. You would have sent good energy out there instead of negative energy. I lived in Santa Barbara, California for some time. And in August, there's Fiesta Week. And it's a whole week of parties and fiestas and everything. So the first night of Fiesta, I thought, I'm staying home. And my girlfriend and I lived on a side street, and the side street was filled because of Fiesta parking. So I had to park up on the busy street, the main street. And we both went to bed early that night. We were sound asleep, and we heard a crash that woke us up. And she immediately jumped out of bed. She says, "Your car." And we went running out up the street in our PJs, and sure enough, a truck had run into the back of my car and totaled it. And I immediately assumed, oh man, somebody's been partying, they've been drinking, they weren't paying attention, and there's my car. But when I got up there, I found this grandmother in tears. Her granddaughter was running a fever. She was trying to get her to the hospital. She missed the turn, and when she looked, she hit my car. But in that moment, before I knew, I went to that negative place. It's our reaction. It's the way our training. And that's what we want to change. We don't want to go there right away. Because whenever I think that someone else is to blame for my misery, for my pain, for my problem, they hurt me, they broke my heart, they stabbed me in the back, they raked me over the coals, I'm creating my own suffering. So let's do an experiment right now. Notice how you're feeling. I want you to just close your eyes, and I want you to recall something in the past, the present, or that hasn't happened yet, that's got you upset, that you're angry about, that you're stressed about. Think of one situation, one person. And now notice what the feeling is. And open your eyes. Now that situation, that person, it's not happening right here and right now, is it? But did you feel those feelings? Immediately, right? They were there. So the situation isn't causing them. Your thoughts about them is causing you to be upset, is causing your discomfort. Our feelings and our emotions are created by our thoughts, not circumstances. This is such a big one. And it has all the difference to do whether I'm going to have a happy life or I'm going to be miserable all the time. If the event created the emotion, we would be able to experience the emotion only while the event was actually happening. So if you sat there right now and thought about taking a shower, would your hair get wet? The event doesn't create the emotion. And if it did, everyone involved would be having the same emotion, wouldn't they? When I ran up to that truck, angry, the grandmother wasn't angry, it was the same event. We were having two different experiences. Two neighbors lose their home in a hurricane. And one is devastated, pulling their hair out, don't know what they're going to do. And the other one is just grateful no one was hurt. Same situation. Or you're in a situation with a person and you get upset And the other person isn't even aware of what's bothering you. And I love there's a lot of husband-wife cartoons out there. This one that I found was a husband returning home at 3 a.m., and he opens the door, and there's the wife with the frying pan in her hand. And he goes, "Honey, you can go back to sleep now. I'm not hungry." Two different ways of seeing it, right? Circumstances are neutral and do not create emotions. Our thoughts create them. But we label people, we label situations, good or bad. We do our shoulds and shouldn'ts. They should have done this, they shouldn't have done that, they should have said this, they shouldn't have said that. And we create scenarios and become convinced that I'm right and they're wrong. You haven't done that, have you? No. Our need to be right, for life to show up how we think it's supposed to show up, creates separation, but it also creates something else. It creates health challenges. Science tells us that the neurotransmitters that fire off in our brain connect with our hormones, with our immune cells, and with our organs. So if I'm firing off negative thoughts, it's going through my whole body. And they have proved, they've found in research, that the thoughts can create D-I-S-E-A-S-E, dis-ease in our body. Sometimes it's hives, sometimes it's shingles, cold sores, infections, back problems. I know that one. That's where my stress takes me. And over time, holding negative thoughts for years can become diabetes, heart disease, cancer. There's all kinds of research on this. So I'm going to ask you a question. What emotions or physical sensations have you been experiencing lately? Could it be possible that they are rooted in negative thoughts that you've been holding for days, weeks, months, or years? Good self-work. Research tells us that we have 12 to 60,000 thoughts a day. 12 to 60,000 thoughts a day. And, hear this, 98% of them are the same as the day before. You feel like you're in a rat race? You are. But hear this, 80% of them are negative. So look at your life. If you're not happy, then look at your thoughts. There was this wise teacher in this town, and all the people in town went to him. They went to him with all their problems. And the teacher noticed that they would come with the same problem over and over and over again. So one day he was teaching a group of people in town, and he told a joke, and they laughed. They just roared. It was so funny. And he waited a few minutes, and he told it again. A couple smiled. He waited a few minutes. He told the same joke again. And the people looked at each other and went, "Yeah, what's wrong with teacher?" And then he said, "You can't laugh at the same joke over and over again. So why are you always crying over the same problems?" I found this quote, and I don't know where I got it, but it said, "My only tormentor is myself left over from yesterday." This is a big one, guys. So, Julia, who sings here, always says, "I want the how-to." I want the how-to. So here's the how-to. How do we transform our mind? Here's some things we can use. Dan, do you have the first one? So the first thing we do when we feel those negative thoughts is we question them. Why am I making this mean this? Why am I making this thought mean this? Why does this feel like a threat to me? Because if I'm going negative, I'm feeling threatened. What part of me wants to make the other person wrong? Am I caught up in needing life to be a certain way in order to feel okay? Take a breath. Breathe. As Reverend Tree says, breathe. Second one, Dan. So we question the negative thought. And then we shift our attention and awareness. We have to see beyond what the ego reflection is, beyond the I, me, mine. You know, when you look, especially here in Florida, when you look in a car window on a sunny day, what do you see? You see, your first thing you see is your reflection, right? And then if I want to see the person inside the car, I have to kind of move around. I have to shift my attention. I have to look in a different way to see inside the car. So when I'm in a situation, I have to shift my attention. I have to become aware. Because that situation is a mirror of a place inside me where I'm not connected to my wholeness. So here's the problem. And at first, I'm reacting negatively. My ego's reflecting my negative stuff right back to me. So I take a breath. I take a moment. I shift. Just like you'd kind of shift to see in the car window. I shift to see inside me. Where am I not whole? Where am I disconnected? What do I need in this situation? Where am I not connected to my wholeness, to my true self? Or the other person's wholeness, the other person's true self. You know, our second principle, the divinity in all of us. I'm not seeing that in me or them at that time. Number 3, what does God or Spirit, whatever word you want there, what does God want to do through me in this situation? What do we sing? I am the hands, I am the voice of Spirit on earth. What does Spirit want me to do in this situation? So I have to dismantle those thoughts that anything can come between me and you. Because that's the only thing that's separating us. I have to dismantle those thoughts that anything can come between me and my highest good. And then I open my heart to the moment. This is huge. This is big stuff. This is life-changing stuff. And it's not easy. Because I have to monitor myself all the time. You know what's so awesome about having to do these talks every week? I have to live in this for about 3 days. We open our heart to the moment. We transcend the circumstance. We raise above it. And then we allow, you know that picture with the woman in the beach like this? We allow infinite possibilities of the universe to flow in and through us. How can I serve? How can I be the voice? How can I be the hands when I'm all clogged up with my negative thoughts, my assumptions, my stories? Doesn't it feel good to just open up? That's why we open our arms and just allow myself to be infilled, to be that clear vessel through which pure love flows. We have the recap on the screen, Dan, of these 3 steps. So we question our negative thoughts. We shift our attention and awareness, and then we ask, what does God want me to do here? Realizing my suffering is created by my thoughts. I stop blaming others. I stop blaming circumstances for my feelings. And I embrace life without needing it to be a certain way. I spent quite a bit of time in Malaysia with my business. And when I would be caught up in the stress of the business, I would look out at the natives living in a 3-sided hut, the children running around naked, and how happy the people were. And I'm in a 5-star hotel with all these problems. It's my thinking. When I realize my suffering is created by my thoughts, I stop blaming others for my feelings. So, this week, when you find yourself blaming someone, just in case you might do that, or something else for your unhappiness, you're going to remember that you are in charge of your life and that you are greater than any situation and that you have the power to transform your life and the world, not by asking who's to blame, by changing your thoughts. God bless you.